Here.
My name is Paterson and I teach in contemporary history at Aberystwyth. I specifically do women's history or gender history, however you want to think about it, and specifically I look at women's work in post-Second World War Britain, and particularly looking at the role of employment and work on working class women's sense of self in that period. That goes back to when I was an undergraduate, and I think the first couple of years I was at university, I really wasn't enjoying my course. So from being at school and really loving history, then when I started history at university, it just didn't click with me. I didn't know what I was doing, didn't understand the course, was getting very average grades as well. And then in my second year, one of my class tutors was a women's historian. She was a PhD student who was doing a history of the women's liberation movement in Scotland. She was really passionate and she just kind of reinvigorated this excitement about history for me. Yeah, it did relate to my everyday experiences, I suppose, and it kind of fitted in with my political views as well. So for me it was kind of, it started to make sense of what I was doing at university and also some of the things that I was starting to think about kind of outside of university as well. I think there's obviously the hope that the research that I do and the publications that I produce are going to be interesting to other academics, to other historians, and that are going to change how people think about the past, produce new knowledge, and change how we think about existing events. But the history that I do is also very closely tied to present day problems and present day experiences. And I think by recovering what has gone on in the past, we can understand the present a bit more thoroughly. And I have known colleagues who have been criticised for taking a feminist axe to history, for not being objective in how they do their history. And I think it's important that we acknowledge our subjectivities and that we accept that not everyone does produce objective history, and that there's actually no harm in producing subjective history because it is what we all do. I think one of the things that feminist and gender historians are good at is that we acknowledge our subjectivity, and we acknowledge that we're coming from, in quite a number of cases, a very political and very present-minded position. I think they're separate. There's two selves there. Definitely, if I'm writing for when I'm teaching and when I'm writing for a publication, the activist side of me doesn't come out. But if you see me on a protest, I'll be a very different person, and the language and the way that I explain things will be very different. So, as much as the two inform each other, they're quite separate worlds for me, I think.